Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
It's a Dude Cast.
It's a dude cast.
And I think the podcast engine is primed and pumped
It is.
and ready to go.
We're ready to rock.
Just based on the 5 minutes I've spent with you guys already. And
I'm sorry.
don't be sorry. Never be sorry.
Never.
Never be sorry. We're not
for.
going to share the
Apologies.
story that we were just told, but
No.
we've all
We've
it's
all been
right.
there.
We've all been there.
Yes.
It's no shame. But I will
Me
say,
too.
I have a front desk because I was thinking about this, listening to music on the way in. I think there's a lack and a need, again. There were a lot of, this happened in the 80s. I feel like there were a lot of movie soundtracks that had songs, like artists writing songs, maybe specifically for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like the overall theme, especially in the 80s, was like pushing it to the limit.
Oh yeah.
And,
Totally.
Taking it like,
That's
edge
like an
of
actual song from
right, like
a movie for
getting
sure.
to the,
Absolutely.
like, the edge of the envelope and like never quitting or surrendering. And like, because I was thinking somehow in my algorithm or my Spotify playlist came a song from this movie called Rad.
Okay.
1980s, early 80s. It got heavy rotation in the library when my dad would bring me. I'm like, can we rent Rad again? He's like, yes.
Yes.
It's basically a BMX kind of movie.
I
Okay.
remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
these kids are just like BMX biking and like doing shit around town.
Uh-huh.
And they're the protagonists. So they're like essentially like the homegrown, they do it for fun and they're just not, and then this other crew comes in and then they're like the polished, the professionals. They got
Right.
uniforms, they got
Yes.
sponsors, and this guy's coming in. It's like, we're going to compete on this thing called Hell Track. And the main character, whose name I think was Crew. And actually, you know who's in it? Aunt Becky from Full House.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
She's in it,
Felon.
right?
All right.
She's
Yeah.
a felon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at one point, like they hook up and they're like, there's like training for Hell Track, and like at one point, I think when they actually meet, it was like at a school dance, and like Crew brought his BMX bike to the dance,
Of course.
and then
as
of
one
course,
does.
like as someone, he's like play the song, and they're like doing BMX tricks in the dance, like clear the dance floor, but it's not like dancing; they're just like doing BMX moves.
Yes.
But like that soundtrack is like there's thunder in your heart, and every move is like lightning.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I think we need more of that.
We do.
I
I
think-
think that's a lost art, a lost genre.
I think we've lost some of the cheese machismo.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think that kind of I wonder if it's like Cold War inspired.
I was gonna say Rocky
I
Four is
wonder
another
if
good
that's
one.
what it's
Oh,
about.
that's-
Rocky 4 is another good. It's got a lot of bangers that are all about like.
Being American too.
Oh,
like,
that's
it's like that too.
yeah.
It's like but not only are we pushing the envelope, but also we're American.
Oh yeah, that was
They-
a heavy,
like-
yeah.
I think took just the right amount of steroids back then.
Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
mean, like Arnold Schwarzenegger
Right.
has not been beat in the physique
Right.
world.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a different era of
Yeah.
of male power.
Another thing that pops up in my feed is like old school videos of him lifting in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the
like
best.
old school. And it's like, dude was gigantic. And
Oh, my
lifting
God.
like ridiculous amounts of weight and doing all these great. And he would talk about like, you do flies and then you do bench press and then you do dips and you do all this stuff. I'm like, bro, I am out at the second thing you said. There's
Are
no
they
way.
clips from Pumping Iron? Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't seen
Oh,
it.
that's a great
Oh, my
documentary.
God. I bet
It's on
that's-
Netflix.
Oh, yeah?
It's one of the funniest. It's definitely some of the things he says we probably can't say in this podcast,
Absolutely
and those things
not.
are the funniest.
I think one thing I know you're saying, I think, it's like he's basically
Getting a
just
good pump.
Right.
Yeah.
He's describing how it feels.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone
All
check
day,
it out.
every day.
Every day, all day. Yeah, it's definitely one. My friends, when we were in high school, like
Yeah.
I remember seeing that, and my friends being like, "Yes, that's right,"
Yeah.
and I remember being like, "You guys are
And they're like,
meatheads."
yeah,
That's-
we're just gonna go bench 155. Right
yeah,
now,
exactly.
You know what I
We'll
mean?
throw it up. We'll get there.
No, but I was reflecting because I was like, there's like I thought of Rocky 4.
Oh,
was
yeah.
a good one, and there's all these movies where like I feel like Top Gun is maybe, but I don't know how many songs like.
ZZ Top
Yeah.
and Take My Breath Away. I have
Right.
a Top Gun soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's an
rocking for a while.
amazing
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
That
How
is
about
one of the
Kiss
best.
from a Rose by
Oh.
Seal
yeah.
Dude.
from
Seal
Batman
for
Returns.
Come on, that
Well, that's like what I'm talking about. Like that, I think he did that song for the movie.
he did.
Yeah.
and it wasn't like a pre-existing thing. It's like we'll throw it on the movie soundtrack.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that was a
like-
hit.
It was that thing.
Oh
had a
my gosh.
chokehold on the nation.
Yes.
for the summer of '96.
My dad bought that album, Seal's album. So it was from the Batman. I think it was like Batman
Batman
Returns or
Batman
something
Forever.
forever. Yeah, and I remember that That was like one of the first CDs he bought for us.
Oh, nice.
And so that song, we played it like
Like,
all
out.
all the time. I remember thinking like, this is the best song ever. I think this is like the one that they came with. Yeah. It's
Too Legit to Quit by
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
God, that was same era,
Addams
100%.
Family Values.
Yeah.
Adam's Family Values. That's right.
I don't know why I really, really know this genre, but I do.
Right. Well, I think of you said that. I think of Bobby Brown did a song for the second Ghostbusters movie.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
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 I think
Bobby Brown.
Oh, yeah.
I think artists need to start making songs specifically for a movie.
I
For
couldn't
that.
agree more.
Yeah,
I'm fully with you on this.
I agree.
Well, so it's funny. I just watched a really dumb, not accurate, good video at all.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it got me thinking. So the guy was proposing that reality ceased in 1999 because he's our age, and that's the way it appears to him, you know. But it's funny because I was thinking, well, you know, some of the things he was saying is true. Is that, like, you know, when you look at the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, there was this distinctive look to each decade.
Mm-hmm.
And now, for the last 25 years, you look at TV, movies, you
Right.
know, like there's subtle changes, but really it all just looks the same.
I've seen something like this. I don't know who it is or the same guy, but this sounds familiar. Yeah.
So what it got me thinking, and I realized none of us share sort of like a cinematic touchstone moments really anymore. Maybe like Marvel movies do
Right.
that once in a while, but you know, like back when we were kids, we all watched the same TV shows at the same
Yep.
time every week.
Right,
We watched
yeah.
a big movie coming out at around the same time,
Right.
and then they would attach music, and it would define styles
Yep.
and genres and all kinds of stuff. And now we don't really have that. Like my son is completely into, I think right now he's listening to like this early 90s alternative pre-grunge, like think like the Swans. You know the Swans?
okay,
like,
yeah.
He's like into some like heavy
right.
dope.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's like none of his friends are listening to
Right.
that. So
Yeah.
it's just his own sort of
Just
journey he's
right.
on now.
That's amazing.
But like he's not dressing like them. You know what I mean? Like there are lines
Yeah.
that he won't
I think
cross.
that people, I seen stuff about this where they said it was like the death of the monoculture.
Yeah.
Like where it's like because there wasn't the choice. Now there's so much choice.
Because everything's available.
Everything's
always,
available all
right.
the time when it comes to music, when it comes to videos, movies, whatever. And like even like MTV and like those kind of
Oh,
things
totally.
defined what was cool, what was good, what was like high quality music and style and that kind of thing. It's like, and that defined people before they had the choice of what they got to consume all the time.
Right.
And that like it made things more distinct, and it made like in music especially, it was like there were people that were actually taste making for culture.
Yeah.
And now that is like it's all algorithmic for each individual. So it's like that's gone. And so that is why there isn't shows like that are about like the early 2000s, like
Yeah.
really where when you watch it you're like, "Oh, I know when this was."
Right.
You know, like, and I saw something that was like when Dazed and Confused came out.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was 25 years after it, and we're 25 years past the 2000s. There's nothing like that
Nobody's
that is like different
nostalgic.
or like
Yeah.
distinct or
Right. Like
you know,
if
like
you were gonna make a movie set in 2002.
nobody would know.
It would be
you
all
know?
about 9/11.
It would
Oh,
be.
yeah. That's
Well,
what we're
that's
kinda
the
like,
only
yeah.
monoculture thing that took place,
Right.
like for us. So it's like that's an interesting. Like maybe that is how reality ceased to exist
Right, yeah, in that
after
way.
that point from what we were used to having, and that is sad.
I had the same thought because George Wendt just passed away a
Mm-hmm.
few weeks or like last week, right? And so I've been seeing old clips of Cheers,
Yeah.
yeah.
and had the same kind of thing where like this was on 22 nights a year, like from fall to spring, and you missed it, and
Right.
Like, you know, maybe someone taped it, but
Yeah.
like, more likely
Very
you
few.
missed it, right?
Yeah. Right.
And it's only with like DVD where you can like watch it all again. But I just had that same thought where it's like, you know, that we don't tune in at the same time to watch the thing, and then
Right.
the next day it's like, oh, did you watch last night's Cheers or
Right.
Friends or something like that?
And even when there's a big show drop, you know, which they're trying to recapture that by like running things one episode at a time
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But people will wait and then binge
And just
them,
binge it.
you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, suddenly, like we almost don't talk about it because you don't know where somebody's at with
Right,
it.
yeah.
You know? Like you know.
Andor.
And
For-
I know
for
that's
us.
right.
I haven't seen it yet. So.
I haven't either.
Yeah,
Josh
there we
has seen.
go.
I just can't wait for you guys to watch it. You know, if
I
anyone's
think
out
we
there,
need to try to really make an effort to see it by next Dudecast.
if
Okay.
you
Just
could,
about a
you know,
month.
like that
I'm
would be
into it.
great. We could talk about it.
I
Right.
think I got to re-up Disney Plus.
I'll give you my login.
Right.
My man.
Hey man, Dudecast.
Dude, yes.
I think so. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. So that was my thoughts driving in today. I don't know if anyone else has any random.
No, I mean that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think that we're starving for good things. I
Right.
think that's kind of and also an obvious thing, because when there isn't that monoculture or the things that everybody is talking about, it's like I was thinking about that too when it comes to sports, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older, where when I thought about and I lived in Chicago, so it was like the whole world was Michael Jordan and the Bulls.
Right. Yeah.
And so like watching the Knicks and the Pacers, like kind of bringing back memories, but I'm
Right.
also like maybe at an age where I'm like, who really cares who wins? You know, like
Right.
it doesn't really matter as
Yeah.
much as I thought it did. You know,
Right.
like
Yeah, there's
back
some of
then,
that.
and maybe that's just a function of
Definitely,
getting older.
I was getting back into watching sports the past couple years, and I'm a Yankee fan. So then they're doing well. I mean,
Yeah.
they won the World Series last year, but
Right.
also like I remember watching the teams in like the early '90s.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first experience with Yankees in the World Series.
Yeah.
'Cause I missed Too Young for the '70s. They were crap in the '80s. So I
Yeah.
was like, this is outstanding.
back.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
And, like every Red Sox Yankee game was like life or death.
Yeah,
Now I'm like, they're playing the Red Sox next weekend. I'm like, that'd be cool.
yeah, it'll be cool.
That'd be fun
Yeah,
to watch.
right.
It's, other stuff to go
Maybe we're
to.
just growing up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know, right?
Well, even the sports have gotten kind of personalized now. Like,
Yeah.
I watch a lot of jujitsu, and that's become a real up and coming sport.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's still pretty niche. Like
Yeah.
you have to like pay to watch the biggest events, and some of the other ones are starting to be free on YouTube. But now there's these weird offshoot sports that are just sort of like solo run. There's not much money in them for the fighters. So one of them's called Car-Jitsu.
Okay,
And
I've seen this.
it's precisely what you think.
Okay.
Like you're in a car sitting next to each other, and the timer goes off, and you start doing jujitsu in a car, like using the seatbelts
Oh.
and stuff.
Oh, okay. So two people in the car.
Yeah.
So it's like that scene basically in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Just start fighting.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And like so people are developing techniques for it. But I did register. I want to fight in a car jiu-jitsu match.
If you do, we will do we should do a live
Yes,
stream of that.
We should.
and do a Dudecast about
I
it.
want to hear every ounce of that.
I mean, my jiu-jitsu career is not illustrious or good. I've fought in 10 jiu-jitsu competitions with multiple matches per competition. I have won one match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I got a couple of silver medals for second place kind of stuff,
Okay.
but you know,
That's good.
second
Hey.
place in a two-man division. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen,
Still second
it's
place.
a medal on the wall.
It
That's
is,
what-
right? Well, you know, that feeds right. That is an excellent segue in today's topic, which is your comfort zone. Going at the times we've gone outside our comfort zone with failure or success, how we approach it, and stuff like that. So it sounds like, to me, doing a competition like a jiu-jitsu is like serious. Like for me anyway, be like comfort zone, way outside. Like, was that a stretch for you to do like your first competition? Like if you think back to the first one, was it really outside, or were you just like so jazzed and into it where it didn't feel like it?
So I've done other fight sport based competitions in the past. And this, by, you know, like when you watch it, you go, okay, you're not taking damage for the most
Okay,
part,
yeah.
like in a jiu-jitsu match. It's more like a high school wrestling match than
Okay.
it is like a fight, you know?
yeah.
So at that level, I wasn't like, I wasn't scared of super big consequences for doing it, you know, whereas I think in a lot of fight sports, like that's, you should be scared if you're not, you know? If you're not, you're being dumb, you know, but like jiu-jitsu is not really like that. And there are a lot of people our age that do compete. It's not, you know, it's not as common as like in the younger age categories, but yeah, I mean, yes, I was definitely outside of my comfort zone because it had been years and years.
And how old were you when you did this?
When I did my first jiu-jitsu comp, 42.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's cool.
Good for
No,
you.
it was-
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You think that, but like you go to these things and it's like
Do a lot of people compete who practice jujitsu?
Yeah, in fact, I'd say it's one of those sports where you can age into it and still compete.
Cool.
Like
Oh, okay.
you don't really see that with like, you know, wrestling, for instance.
Right,
There's not
yeah.
a lot of middle-aged wrestling comps.
Right. Yeah. I think the singlet, restricts people.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly restrict me. I guess.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah. It would just be.
I look like one of those old-time strongmen.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Oh.
You need a handlebar mustache.
Yeah, yeah,
Get
exactly.
it going.
Ride it on my
Yeah.
big ass wheel bicycle.
Tiny ass back wheel.
Oh, it's so funny.
But yeah, that was definitely, and it's funny because like different competitions hit the nerves in different ways. So like definitely the most nerves I felt in a jiu-jitsu competition was we went to Worlds for masters level.
Okay.
So it was
Cool.
like our age range. It was 30 through as old as you can go, you know. And it was huge. There were like 10,000 people there.
Wow.
Like all the big names in jiu-jitsu were walking around, and it was in Las Vegas. And so we got psyched up. And, you know, you want to make weight. So that's always a thing.
A battle.
You know, you're
Yeah.
eating
Right.
eggs and mustard and drinking water, like weighing yourself with the water and stuff. So there's that level of like, you know, nerves, just like, wouldn't it suck if I flew here and disqualified because I'm too fat? You know? And so then, you know, you kind of have this huge buildup. You're watching matches. It goes for a couple of days. And then finally, it's my hours coming up, and you're in the bullpen. You're kind of eyeballing all the other dudes, and they all look like professional athletes to me. And I'm not like on any kind of steroids or anything,
Right.
so like I'm not looking very fit compared to these guys. And you know, the nerve buildup is tremendous at this point. And so that was probably the most nerve wracked I've been doing any competition that I can remember, because I was young and dumb when I did the other one. You know, like I had the gift of alcohol and youth.
Right.
It's like when you're young, you got to do this stuff because you don't know what you should be nervous about, right? You're
That's
just
true.
Like, you're so dumb or aloof. You're just like, man, would it be fine? And then
Right.
with age comes, oh, I should have been a little bit more worried
Yeah.
or prepared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
It is. How about you, Josh? Anything come to mind as far as?
Well, when I think about like stepping outside of my comfort zone, there's been a few times I've done that. I feel like I've done that quite a bit in my life, or been pushed to do that.
Yeah, I was also thinking where like it's either A, you step outside willingly, like you choose to do something, or you are like thrust and you're like, well, you're doing this now, and
Yeah.
you got kind of no choice. So
Yeah.
like there's two different ways. Like I was thinking about that.
Yeah, when I was young, I was. I mean, I can go all the way back to third grade, like when I was asked to be the singer in my brother's band. So
Oh, I
it
think
was
I remember the
it
story.
was
I
the
love
first band that I ever was in, and my brother, for his, I think his 6th grade birthday, had his friends over, and one of them played keyboard and one of them played guitar, and my brother had been playing drums, and so they were like, we're going to start a band. And my dad suggested, because I was always singing, that I should be the singer. And so they had a band meeting about it, and they voted no. They were like, no, we can't, because he's going to get all the attention. And my dad was a drummer, has been a drummer his whole life. He's like, trust me, there's plenty of attention to go around. and I think you need a singer. You know, like you need a
Right,
singer
yeah.
to do this. And so we had our first performance was in front of our entire school. Our entire Catholic school was like 1,000 people.
Like K
And-
through 8 kind of
yeah,
thing?
K through
Okay.
8, and all their parents, everyone who was
Oh,
performing
wow.
and everything like that. And so being pushed on stage in a certain sense has always been like hey, we're going to do this. And I was like, ah. And so like that happened but every performance felt like that until I got like a little bit more seasoned and got more positive feedback, and then like felt like, all right, this is what I want to do,
Right, I can
you
do
know.
this, right.
And then that didn't happen again until I was in high school. I was asked to sing the national anthem at like basketball games, like for playoffs and stuff like that.
I don't know a lot about singing, but I've heard that is particularly hard.
It's definitely one of the
It's
hardest.
very tricky.
Yeah, it's one of the harder songs to sing because you got to start low
Right.
because it builds to the end, and it's all a cappella. So it's
Yeah.
like there's a real pressure, you know, like, and especially like I didn't do it for a regular season game. I did it for my first time was for the area sectionals. So it was a full, completely full
big
gym,
ass-
like second bleachers on the top,
Yeah.
completely full, and all of my peers, you know, and I was somebody who, after I didn't make the basketball team my junior year. So I went to all the games and knew all the kids and was like a student spirit leader. Like basically we had a spirit club and it was called Blue Crew, and I would be like front row starting the chants, that kind of thing. So they were all on my side, you know, like
Oh,
definitely
right,
when I
yeah.
got out there and started, it was like I had a lot of people behind me, but I can remember even right now viscerally what it felt like beforehand, and like going back and forth, walking back and forth in the cafeteria with one of my best friends, like practicing, like, am I going to forget the fucking words.
I know,
like
right?
it's like, what are the words? You know,
When it's
like, and
wait, what's that part? How does it go? And you like blank on it.
oh, 100%. And you're practicing. You're like, and like you're thinking, my mouth is so dry. Like, what am I gonna do? You know, and I got up there, and within the first 5 to 10 seconds into the song, I started getting insane feedback on the mic I was like, and it's just like I pulled it away from my face, and then came back to it, and it like fixed, and everybody laughed. It was like, okay, and got back into it, and it ended up being like I have it on video, and it's one of the funniest. It's the best video. People go absolutely nuts for me, and it's like that's the reward for getting out of your comfort zone in music. You know, like where it's like putting yourself out there. I would have never felt the victory of like overcoming my fear, because I definitely, as it was approaching, was like, I can't do it. Like, no way. And so there's been a few times like that in my life where I really felt like I had no choice. You know, like where it's like it's happening. You know, you've already agreed. It's going to be an opportunity. Like there's an opportunity for wild success. You know, like if you do well, people will be like, holy shit, like what is this guy doing? And then if it goes horrible, it's like you have the opportunity to really fall in your face, you know, like, and
absolutely.
so that is, it's living on the edge a little bit, you know, like
really
in a
is.
certain sense, talk about those songs. It's like, it's, and so those moments always, luckily for me, usually panned out. I'm trying to think of a time where it didn't.
I have one where it didn't.
When?
This is pretty low stakes, really.
Yeah.
When I was a sophomore in college, I mean, like the few years before, I got really into playing golf, and it wasn't a D1 school, and it was like in Connecticut. So I'm like, it's like I don't need a team. It's like baseball, where like if I don't play on a team, like you're definitely gonna your performance and play will suffer a little bit. But it's like golf, like I can just go play a lot, play, maybe take a lesson or like play a lot. So I'm like, all right, I'm seeing improvement, and I looked up like the scores of the team the previous years. I'm like, they're shooting in like the 80s. I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah, we can get
right?
there.
I can totally, like, I do that.
Yeah.
And so I like, that's the summer before my sophomore year. I was like emailing the coach, and he's like, yep, we got open tryouts. They're this time. And like the team, like the whole team, people who are like on the team and whoever's like walk on basically. It's like they go to the course, and it's like they're just going to play, right? And I was like in maybe the second or third group to tee off, and I put my ball on the ground, I tee up, and what would the worst what would the worst thing you could want to do if that was you? If like first tee, got your driver, par 4, right? Think of like what would you definitely not want to happen?
Miss the ball, dirt flying.
Yes.
Shit your pants.
Yeah. hit the tee, not the ball.
None of those things happened. I did. I flubbed it, and like I topped it, so it did one of these. It went in the air, like 10 feet in the air, and it went like 30 yards.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
That's a
my
bad
god!
feeling.
And it's like everyone like.
That is a bad feeling. Yeah.
So I just put my driver in the bag. Everyone else teed off, and of course I was the next to go because I was like,
because you were
my
farthest.
Yeah, I was farthest in the hole, and then like I think I hit an iron or a 3-wood, and it went 150, 200 yards. It went straight. I'm like, okay, recovery, but like. If that couldn't have happened on like the second hole,
Right?
It was just like the 3 other guys I'm playing with. Maybe the coach is watching from there, but it's in front of fucking everyone. And again, low stakes. I did not make the team.
Yeah.
But I got to play golf for like 2 or 3 days. But it was just like one of those things. Where, like I've done this as a hobby for fun. I'm like, why the hell not? Like if I make it, great. And if I get to play more golf, and if not, it's like sure, whatever. There's no expectations, but. Yeah, that first shot. I was like, oh
yeah.
And I played okay. I look back, but that first one was just like, oh man,
that's
to
definitely
screw up in front of people. And again, it was not a basketball arena or stadium filled with your peers, right? It was not that, but it was still like because this was so new. This wasn't like I'd played baseball forever, right? It wasn't like here's batting practice and you like. Missed the first ball or fouled off or something. I know how to shake that off, right? It's either this was like I had no idea like how I would react. How do I feel? Like how would I handle this level of like, oh crap?
Yeah,
and, I did what I did and dusted myself off and played, but it was still that initial like. And again, the nerves. It's like, oh boy, oh my god,
here we go.
People are watching.
Prove it.
I think I know.
Yeah.
So it was a quote unquote failure, but it was very low stakes. But I definitely did experience all those emotions that went with it. Yeah.
Well, isn't it interesting that like comfort zone, a lot of the time it has to do with what you think other people will think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and it's like it's like I wonder evolutionarily, like, how is it protecting us, like, to feel so afraid,
Right.
like
Is
have like real adrenaline fear,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
you're gonna get killed or something.
Like this you could get detribalized.
Yes,
Fuck
yeah,
this
yes.
up
You're
bad
out of
enough.
the
Well,
group.
it's like
Yeah.
ego death,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like you're like worried that people are going to see you as like a failure because you messed up,
Right.
which is like such an interesting, I think that's a pretty young thought, you know, like really, I think that that's like
Yeah.
something we grow into understanding that like through experience, I think, where you're like, actually, this isn't that big a deal. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
I built this the hell up for myself, you know, like, and this actually is not a huge deal and no one's thinking about me at all.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the other thing I think that is like, it's interesting how that all plays out. One time where I failed was also sports related. So I played soccer my whole life until I went to high school. And when I went to high school, the only people I knew, I went from Catholic school to public school.
Okay.
And so my only friends were playing football. So they were, so I was like, all right, I played travel soccer way too much. And I was like, I'm done with soccer, whatever. Little did I know I was only going to be 5'8", you know, like, and like I was like 100 and I was the smallest person on our team the whole time I played in high school. And our first game freshman year.
Did you play all 4 years?
Yeah, I
Oh,
played all 4 years,
good for you.
and it was a great experience because it was one of the most challenging things I've ever done because there was no payoff, like really like very little payoff from doing it, and it was my whole identity and whole life basically in high school, working out before school, like all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, really buying into the idea that we could possibly go far in the playoffs. Like that was such a big deal to me for some reason. And my first game in my freshman year, and it's like also me trying to impress these new friends.
Yeah.
And so it's like the first week of school, you know, you did 2-a-days, all that kind of stuff. And we get to the game, and the first drive, I'm like 5'3" or 5'2", and they had a wide receiver that was 6'1". And so they just went at me. Like they were just like, all right, this guy, like, let's just throw hooks. Like I'm going to do.
We're gonna blast
Yes,
this
we're
kid.
we're on the goal line, and they're like, let's just do a bunch of like 5-yard and turnarounds, you know, like hitches.
Yeah.
And I was on defense, and I got 6 pass interference calls in a row, to where like the guy would come and turn around, and as the ball's in the air, I just tackled the guy, you know, like every time. And I'd come back to the huddle, and the middle linebacker's like, "Hey Josh, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop doing that. Do you know the rules?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do, but what am I gonna do? Like, he's gonna catch the ball and score, you know?" But it was so funny because like it really was like I was like having a mental break where I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and they
Right.
just kept coming at me every single play. And so I was thoroughly embarrassed, absolutely thoroughly embarrassed, but I didn't quit. You know, like
Yeah.
I was like, well, now I know.
Yeah.
Like,
learned that lesson.
now I know the rules, I think. It was really funny.
You know, it's funny because when I think of comfort zone, I feel really comfortable now. And I think I've been this way for as long as I can remember. It's like failing in front of people means you tried, right?
Yeah.
You know, and usually like luck favors the bold and like
Totally.
it's better to get out there, you know.
Yeah.
I think that the most, I've been sitting here pondering like the most discomfort I can think of. And it's when I put myself in a position that I know I'm underprepared for or
Yes.
completely unprepared for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then there's real risk. And I don't do this much anymore, I hope. but like somewhere in my early 30s, I still had something was a little busted in there. And so a buddy of mine raced motorcycles. That was his thing. And I rode a motorcycle for, I think, about a year in North Carolina, maybe less than that, like less
Okay.
than a year in North Carolina. It was like a low horsepower, like more like a moped than a motorcycle. And he was like, "You've got to try racing motorcycles." And I was like, "Okay." And so he hooks us up with this thing called the Penguin Racing School. So it seems like a reasonable, like, oh, it's a school.
real thing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And like he's like, they'll rent you the bike, they'll rent you the leathers, and they'll teach you to ride on the track. And he's like, now he's a wonderful man, and he wasn't trying to kill me or anything. But he's like, it's much safer than riding on the road. Like you're just on this closed track.
Right.
All you have to worry about is the bike, and you know. So we get there, we drive overnight, you know, into New Hampshire. It's on the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And there's this like, do you ever have this thing where it's like deep in you, you know that you're being an idiot?
Yes.
Yeah. like,
yeah.
like deep inside you, you're like, this is stupid.
this is not
and
the
at
right
first
truth.
it's like knocking gently. Like, don't be dumb. You know, this is not. And then like as you get closer to this thing that you've committed yourself to, and you feel like a certain amount of like, well, I'm not going to chimp out on this right now.
I'm
You
gonna
know,
bail.
it starts like knocking, you know, and then it's like cop knocking and kicking on
Well,
the door. Like,
as-
what are you doing? What are you know?
As you're telling the story, I can't remember an instance, but I know in my body what it feels like. And you said like knocking. It's like there's
Yeah.
something in your head just like,
What are you doing? Why are you doing?
It's like what's
Red
wrong
alert.
with you? Seriously, it's the klaxon. It's like wheel.
And like I'm watching YouTube videos, and I'm like, I could die today. Like this is serious.
Yeah.
And yet I felt this, kind of pull to keep going.
Huh.
And so we get in there. I rent everything. I give them my credit card, and then we sit down, and there's like a class. And so I'm like, cool. This is where they're going to show you how to work a Ducati,
Yeah.
racing
Super
bike.
bike. Yeah.
And no, it's like these are what the flags mean, and this is how you improve your racing lines. So it's like high tech, like when you want to set a visual marker, and that's when you're gonna tip the bike and drag your knee so that you can maximize.
Oh, it's one of that.
It's
One of
like
those?
how
It's
I-
full race.
This
Yeah.
is not how do you race a motorcycle. It's how do you race a motorcycle well.
Wow.
Yeah.
right. It seems intermediate at least level.
Oh, it's and like the implication is
Friend.
like, of course you can ride a motorcycle. Like, why would you?
Why would you be here? Yeah. Right.
Like they don't even mention
Right,
like, have
yeah,
you
yeah.
ridden a motorcycle in the last decade?
They don't even ask. Yeah.
They
Right.
don't even ask, And at this point, like that knocking has turned into like door crashing, like my heart's pounding, my mouth is dry. And so finally it's time. Like you go in rounds, and they've got an instructor who's like I think he could just smell it on me that I was a little green. you know?
Yeah.
And so I get on the Ducati, I touch the throttle, and it's like, and the dude who's getting me on the Ducati like grabs the clutch, and he's like, "Why don't you take it around the parking lot a couple times? Just he's like, why don't you knock the cobwebs off?"
Yeah.
a little?" And I was like, "Yeah, good call."
Thank you.
know.
Yes.
So I'm out in the parking lot, and it comes back. I'm riding the motorcycle. And in my brain, I'm like, see, you're okay.
Oh yeah.
And this instructor comes out to the parking lot. He's like, you got this. You can do this. We're going to go around the track once or twice, and it'll be fine, So we go out, and we go around the track once or twice, and it's basically fine. At one point, I roll the bike into a tire wall, and I kind of fly over the handlebars, bounce off the tires, sit back on the thing, and I'm like, that was cool, like I'm all right. Yeah, I was probably going like 15 miles per hour or so. So we go eat lunch, and then the round happens after lunch. And somebody actually is saying, like, this is the one where everybody crashes because they're logy from lunch and their reaction times are down. But I feel good. And so like I'm behind this guy, and I'm going faster and faster, and it starts to feel good. Like they describe it as like you see like a pink light. And it's true. You do. You're in perfect adrenalized.
Wow. Focus.
And I'm like, and I'm
Yeah,
like
let's
riding, and
go.
I'm doing it, and it's so cool, and I feel that power of the. And so there's this long straightaway where you really can go fast. And by the way, they take the speedometers off, so I have no idea how fast I'm going. Like everything is geared towards the race, like everything that's not essential. And part of it is where you look is a big deal when you're riding fast because like it's called target fixation. So if you look there, you're there. Like,
Oh
you'll just
yeah,
be
yeah.
there.
Your just body will go there.
So the dude was waving a flag, and now my fragile like ecosystem of motorcycle racing did not include the flags. Like I wasn't even thinking about like they might actually wave it. And the flags can mean different stuff. There's oil on the track. There's been an accident. Like, but they all basically mean the same thing, which is like
Slow the fuck
caution.
down.
Yeah, caution
Yeah.
and some level of caution.
So I'm on the straightaway. There's a big, really, really serious turn where you have to like,
Yeah, like
get
lean
low.
in. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the flag trying to remember what it means. And all of a sudden I'm past the dude and I'm in this part of the track they call the bucket. And it's got like gravel and dirt. And I'm like, oh God. And what happens is I feel the front tire catch. I fly over the windshield of the thing, like actually through the windshield. I hit the ground rolling. and I'm kind of like, oh, I'm rolling. I don't feel any pain yet, you know. And as I'm rolling, I shit you not, I see the motorcycle go over me, and it like bursts into flames, and there's smoke, and I'm like, whoa. And so I'm laying in this, you know, cloud of smoke and dirt, and, you know, there's fire, and you know, I'm like wiggling my toes, wiggling my fingers. I'm like, holy shit, I think I'm okay. And I slowly, kind of tentatively get up,
Is there
and
like
I'm
a
like,
bone coming out of your arm? You're like,
No.
hey guys, and they're like, ah.
I'm like, somehow miraculously I'm fine. Wow. You know? And so like this dude suddenly like appears running through the smoke, and he's got his helmet off, and he's like, are you okay? Are you know, and I hear the siren, and I'm like, oh no, they closed the track, and they brought an ambulance because they, you know, like
Yeah.
they
They
saw
thought you were
this.
They
really
saw the
hurt. Yeah.
Everybody
explosion.
was sure I was dead. Like everybody who saw it was like, okay, he's toast. Like he's in big trouble. And so they you know, backboard me. They put me on the stretcher, take me into the ambulance. I'm like, really? I think I'm okay. And they're like, you know, and
Right.
they're
Yeah, I'm sure.
cutting the
Oh my
rented
God.
leathers off of me. And it's at that moment I remember that I rented all this shit.
Oh,
Like the
yeah.
bike, the
That's the first thing I thought. I was
the
like,
helmet.
oh no.
You know,
You're
and
not
I'm
getting
kinda
that
like,
deposit
No.
back.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is all really bad. And so they're cutting the leathers off me. And the woman asks me, what's your name? And now I was probably adrenalized. And so I'm wearing these leathers with gauntlets and like a helmet. So I kind of felt like Batman. And so I looked her dead in the eye, and I was like, I'm Batman. And she was like, Nero. So they had to do like a full neurological workup. So long story short, I truly was fine.
Wow.
But as I'm being like ambulanced off the track, I hear one of the pit guys who's like, what the fuck happened? This is all like in the New England
Yeah.
accent. And one of the guys who saw it was like, oh, wicked fucking noob. Road pizza, bro. And I was like, oh no. And so that,
Oh, my
that
God.
was out of my comfort zone.
That is, oh my Lord. That is such a risky move.
It was the dumbest. It's truly,
Seriously,
it's the
such a
dumbest thing
risky
I've ever done in my life. No question
Oh
about
my
it.
gosh.
Yeah,
And that's-
dumbest thing I've ever.
It's just so interesting also because like I can remember moments where like everything in my side me is saying, maybe not, like slow down, stop, don't do it. And you're like, yeah, but I mean, come on. I
Yeah.
could probably figure this out.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that's how old are you?
I was old enough that I shouldn't.
That
have
you
done.
shouldn't
I was
have.
like 30. I was
30.
like 30. I was
Enough to know
probably, like,
better.
around
Yeah,
your
right.
age, dude. I was like in my 30s somewhere. It was like,
I was gonna say if
So-
you're younger, you have that like I'm gonna live forever
Right,
vibe.
yeah.
You know, like that I'm gonna be fine. You know, and sometimes when that's going for it. Talk
It
about
was-
the edge.
Seriously.
My
I mean,
God.
The illusion of having control was what I think. Because, like, I wouldn't try to, like, fly an airplane without going at it. You know, there's a
Right,
lot of
yeah,
things
yeah.
I wouldn't do. You know, I wouldn't try to, like, rock climb or do
Right.
anything with that.
Right.
To
But,
put
like,
yourself in like huge imminent danger.
Yeah,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
was like, I can always just slow down. Like that was my thought. Was like, maybe
Right.
I'm the slowest guy on this track.
Right,
You
yeah.
know? Like,
And that's
the
cool.
Worst case scenario.
Right.
Everybody will be like, "Who's your slow ass?" But that is not what happened. Yeah,
You went for it.
You did.
it felt good for that 1 minute. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna do this for the rest of," and then it was like. And now, no joke, is I'm hitting the brakes when I'm riding a bicycle down a little slope. Like
Yeah.
I'm a
Oh, yeah.
little PTSD about it.
That makes
I
sense.
can imagine. That would make
Yeah.
me hit the brakes often.
All the time.
Holy cow.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
It's so
because you're
stupid.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, like
I
if
lucked
you got
out.
really, really
Lucked
hurt, it'd
out.
be less good of a story.
Right.
You know, it'd be like,
Yeah, I'm imagining like you're just like, how are you? And you're like, oh, I'm okay. And you lift your head up and there's like a spike.
Yeah, like
out of your
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
oh my
I was like,
gosh.
Oh my god! Like no, I'm fine.
Totally
Wow.
fine. Not a scratch, no concussion. Wasn't even sore the next day.
Wow.
I mean, I would say that the one thing is everybody should learn to fall.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you get
Yeah.
used to falling, then it does kick in when you're actually falling.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your experience in martial arts helped you fall in that moment?
100%. Because, like, I knew that I was going head first, so I just balled up and tucked my chin.
Yeah.
And, like, I just rolled and rolled. It felt like a long time rolling, too.
Right.
I bet it
Just
was.
Time just slows down, right?
Oh yeah, well the motorcycle was in slow motion for me. I remember that. It's like I remember I could see the tire spinning as the motorcycle was spinning. So it was like one. And I was like,
Wow.
uh-oh.
Oh my god,
That's a miracle.
that's crazy.
That's incredible.
Holy cow!
Wow.
So, but I learned a really valuable lesson from that, and I really do think that it was like now there is never going to be a second time when I do that.
Yeah.
You know, well, like in any regard, like
Right.
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm getting myself into,
Yeah,
and if
right.
I'm not prepared, I just simply say no.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Wow.
You saying about being prepared made me think of like when I was learning to be a teacher and being a teacher, like because that's half of it. It's like we got to prep for the next day, prep for this and prep for this. And you can do all the prep in the world until you when you get up there and it's like, okay, you're up there. And
Right.
it's like you are in charge. You dictate how things mostly or try to like how things go, like what's going to happen. And then it's like that moment where, because at some point in my teacher preparation where it's like you're doing practice lessons in front of your peers, like the class, and everyone does it. But there's something different that first time you get in front of, because I had to do a practicum, and it was basically 2 weeks in the summertime, and this where the school was, they just had kids that did this as camp. So they took a couple classes and they did other stuff. But it was teaching teenagers, like who I would one day teach.
Yeah.
And it's like when they walked into the building, that was when we all kind of turned to each other like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, here
now.
they are.
Really
Like,
real.
yeah.
Not only are we are responsible for not their whole schooling, but for them for an hour and a half, because it was blocks. Our professors are watching us, and it's like I'm being hypercritical. So it was that of oh my God, what am I? Why did I think I could do this? Why am I doing this? And then it's one of those things where if you just get going and do it, you would be amazed on how well you could do something. I think, right?
Yeah.
Because given the opportunity, and I even had this during my student teaching. The school I went to, I observed the guy who I was working with for about a week, and then it was my turn to go. And I even said to him the day before, I was like, well, you seem to be in the middle of this topic. Do you want me to wait an extra day so you can finish this topic and I'll start something new? And he's like, no, you just go. I was like, that was totally I want to buy time because I'm not ready for this.
Right.
And you just did it, right? And it's one of those things where I just channel my mother, because she would just be like, if you just started doing the thing, it'd be over by now, and you'd be we wouldn't be talking about it. And it's one of those things where if I just start doing it, any nerve, any insecurity, any confidence I lack in myself will go away, provided you just keep doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so just that I consider that a success because I did it for over a decade.
Yeah, definitely.
But that first handful, because it's always steps. There's the student teaching, and then if you get a first job, and it's then it's just you. And there's
Right.
no you get someone who you're working with too, but most of the time it's this is your classroom now. No one's watching you over your shoulder.
And here it is.
And
yeah.
here it is, right? So there's levels of it. But yeah, also every level until I got to about year 3, when I really felt like I had a handle on it, was just whew, why am I doing this? And then I start doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, because I think I'm good at it and it's fun.
Yeah.
But the whole lead up to it, it's self-doubt and overcoming that and just doing it. Just do
getting
it,
into it.
because there is a lot riding on it, but not really as much as you think.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So just chill out a bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
if you ever have to. That's kind of how I approach. Another thing about comfort zone is for me was parenting, and I think mainly coming in as a step parent.
Yeah.
And so that was also okay, don't putting pressure on yourself
hard.
and
Yes.
treating it seriously, but also lighten up, man, because
Right.
just do your best, and if you if you take it from that angle, more often than not you're going to succeed eventually. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's another couple of things I thought of about and that one I totally signed up for. Both
Yeah.
of them actually, parenting and teaching. I'm I totally signed on
This
the
is
dotted
my
line.
plan. Yes,
I'm doing
exactly.
it. I'm
Yeah.
saying yes to whatever
Right.
is going to come down the road based on my decision to do this. And how many times I've been met with oh, this is something I did not expect, don't know how to handle, not sure what to do, and just oh, well, just try.
Yeah.
Just try, for God's sake.
Yeah, we
right?
can. I feel like we can come up with all the reasons not to do things,
Mm-hmm.
in self-preservation, and
Yeah.
it's really is that. In my senior year of high school, because I didn't make the basketball team my junior year, like I said, my choir director I promised her that I would do the musical. one of the years, like, because she was always like, you got to do the music.
Right.
They wanted me to do like Glee Club, like the like kind of like Glee the show. And I said in high school I was like I was in a band, I had my own band. I was like I cannot be on stage, like I just can't do it. I'm like, I just can't do it. And I really offended a lot of people like who were in choir. Exactly. I could not. I just couldn't. I thought I was cooler than that.
Like, baby, I'm too rock and roll for Glee Club.
Yes, and I literally said, and people got very upset with me, like with it. But then I promised her I would do it. And so my senior year, and this was totally, I hadn't done musical theater since I was probably in 6th grade. And I tried out for the play. It was No No Nanette, the worst possible musical. It's from like 1905. It is like all the language is like old American language, like "Go fly a kite." Like it's one of the lines in it. Yeah. Oh, it's the weird. I literally to this day have no idea what it was about, and I just know I was in love with someone. I was in love with Nanette, and I was Tom, and I had to learn soft shoe tap dancing for it.
Okay.
And it was the hardest. I definitely think it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to learn because it's like a very particular type of dancing, and it's like with a partner and like being a lead and the lead of the play. It was like the most terrified I've ever been because I knew my stupid friends were going to come. And they did. They did come, and they heckled me. They heckled me.
Awful.
And I got out, and they were like, that was the worst play that I've ever seen. Like that was so boring. And I'd be like, thanks, guys. I appreciate you for showing up, but it was one of those things where I made a ton of friends in that time that I'll never forget because they were not in my social group, there wasn't really, I was in choir, but I wasn't really in the musical theater group, like that was still a group of friends I hadn't penetrated. And it ended up being such an amazing experience because during that play, my teacher was like, "Hey, have you ever thought of going to music school?" And I was like, Psh. I was like, "Hell no." I was like, because I thought, why do you need to go to college for music? Like I always thought like I would only go to music school if I got into like the best one.
Right.
And she was like, "I think you could." She was like, "I think you could get into the best school. Have you ever heard of Berklee College of Music?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, my dad always talks about it." Blah blah blah, jazz school, etc. And because I did that play, I tried out for Berklee and got in.
Yeah.
And I already was signed up to go to Illinois State, do business, like whatever. Like I had my roommates and everything like that, all chosen. And it was the winter. So it was like everyone was pretty much decided on senior year by then, And so because of that, I mean, I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't do that play and step out of my comfort zone. And it's like, I think that there's intrinsic rewards that come to taking those type of risks.
Absolutely.
And you're afraid, like it's like fate makes you afraid for a reason. Like where it's like, hey, the things that and it's so cliche, but it's put everywhere. Like the fear that you feel, like attack that fear.
Right.
Because like there's a reason that the universe is putting this in front of you, and the fear that you feel is maybe the fear of your old self about to die. Like that your new self will come from this decision.
The me that is now would not do the thing you signed up for or try to do.
Exactly.
And that's like, well, what is the version of me that does that?
You're like,
I don't fucking know.
Well, it's like
Hasn't
the fork
happened
in the
yet.
road thing. Like where, and it's like it really, because then I moved out to Boston, and like I would have never done that. I'd never been to the East Coast in my life, and I moved out there. I met a person through a Facebook group and like became random roommates, in Boston. It's like I took a lot of leaps there because of that one choice.
Well, it's funny how many leaps you're willing to take and how easy they get after that like one.
Exactly.
Because you're like, hey, move to Boston and find a roommate. You'd be like, why am I doing that?
I could
What?
never. Yeah, like what are we talking
But
about?
like that first one, you're like, all right, we're doing this fucking crazy thing.
Yeah.
So the stuff, other things,
Let's
is way
try
less
it. Yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you keep proving to yourself that like the more that my mom used to call it chutzpah training, which is like anytime like there's something I didn't want to do, like make a phone call I didn't want to make, or like go into a store and like apply for a job. She's like, "Come on, Josh, chutzpah training. Let's go.
like
some.
that.
This is chutzpah." Like, and I never knew what the hell that word meant, but I know it's Yiddish. Like, and I don't know where my mom got it. Honestly, we do not. That's the only Yiddish word she ever said, but it
funny.
still sticks with me. And I say it to my kids now. I'm like, "Come on now, chutzpah training.
Oh
Let's
my
get
God.
it."
My mom said something to me when I was a freshman in high school. I was signing up for electives,
Okay.
and one of them was just acting one.
Cool.
And it was just an acting class, right? Never did anything remotely related to that up till that point. But I'm like, sure, okay. And every day was outside the comfort zone. The teacher would
Yeah.
be like, hey, who wants to do a scene? Who wants to do improv? We're going to do this. You come up here, you come up here. And one of the moments where we were doing this exercise where like two people started acting out a scene, and then you'd swap one person out, and the other person would just keep doing whatever they were doing, and then someone else would swap in. So these two guys were doing something, to my classmates, and then one guy just started doing push-ups. And I was like, all right, I'll do it.
I like that.
And I was like, I'm a drill sergeant. And I just started yelling at the kid.
Nice.
I'm like, get on the floor, Megan, and give me 20. And I don't know what I did. I was just riffing, and I was just like, I leaned into it, and like the classmates were like laughing their ass off.
Hell
Because I
yeah.
was like the quiet kid.
Yeah.
Participated, but also like very shy. I was a freshman. And they were like, this is an elective. So they're like juniors in the class. So it's like, and there was just like, what? And it was just like, and the kid was like, that was hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
It was awesome. The teacher was like, what? Where did that come from? I'm like, I don't know. It just happened. And I just like, let's go. I just went for it.
Yeah.
And to this day, if I know always growing up, my mom would be like, oh, I have to do this thing. I got to either make a call or go talk to someone. Like, acting one. Just lean in it. Like she'd be
Let's
like,
go.
that's all she would say. And she would say, acting one. I'd be like, yeah, it's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's the energy I got to channel right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think if there's like a lesson in all of it, it's like short of actual physical danger or death.
Right.
Like generally the world really favors you going for it.
Yeah.
I think.
I
And
agree.
Even if you fall flat on your face, like there's that I think it's a Theodore Roosevelt quote where he's like, never let the person who's sitting on the sidelines in the arena, have anything to say about the person who's down in the arena with the blood and the sweat. And the,
Right.
And I've always stuck with that in my
Yeah.
life because it's, it's better to fail hard but have tried
Right.
than to,
And
To be complacent.
it's
to
tough
sit and not doing
with the age of the internet where there are a bazillion jokers from the stands
Yep.
who
Yeah.
can shoot a comment.
Right.
And there's the one person that's the doing, whatever
Yeah.
the doing is. And it's like, okay, you're not doing the doing. Why
Right.
do I care what you think?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have
You
you
know?
guys seen the comments section on
Yeah.
the ads we run here?
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. People
Like,
are.
but there's like the same names that keep coming out.
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
know.
they like follow this just so they
Just
can
so- yeah.
say shitty things on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's wrong with you?
People, yeah, internet trolling, and really like, I think that the way that the internet has turned people against each other, like the encouragement of people going for things.
Yeah.
It's like I remember. Like trying shit is cool, like trying hard at stuff is cool.
Right, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, and in high school it was the opposite. Like, oh, look at this try hard.
Right.
Like that was like actually an insult, like to my friends. Like they would like, he cares. Look at him put gel in his hair. Like it's like that kind of thing. Like what a loser.
Right.
You know, like, oh, he's a gal pal. You know, like that was like there was so many different like, but it's like, nah, dude, I'm trying to get a girlfriend, bro. You know, like but it's, or I'm just like, I'm interested in music, so I'm trying to sing, and my friends would just bury me for
Yeah.
it. Like trying to get attention, they'd say, or like try to hate on you. Now that's all moved to online,
Right.
Where but it's so much more intense.
Right.
Like it's like.
Well, and it's like global.
Well,
what I
it's
mean?
global,
Like anyone
absolutely.
that's got internet could see it, and it's like, I wouldn't give a shit if you were the chucklehead and sitting next in class.
Exactly.
Like, why would I
Right.
give a
Why
shit?
do I care? And
It's funny you say about the trying, because I listened to this golf podcast. It's called Chasing Scratch.
Mm-hmm.
They started. They're in their 8th season, and they started off like 11 handicap, and they're trying to get to 0.
yeah.
And at one point in this journey, they talked to like performance coaches and
Mhm.
mental health people about like how to approach it like mentally.
Yeah.
And they did say something about, one guy told a story about how like they're playing basketball and he like purposefully didn't try to do well. And it's like, yeah, your ego tries to protect you from failure. So it's like, oh, if I try and fail, that sucks. But if I go and like, I don't really care, and then you don't succeed, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Right.
But like that's not going to get you any sort of success or any kind of goal you have approaching it in the, well, who gives a shit? Like, or like there's not caring about the outcome or result in trying, but
Right.
not caring, which causes you to not try,
Right.
is like the death of whatever you're trying to accomplish.
I think you definitely see that in martial arts a lot, where it's like people will try to be like really relaxed and effortless and just flow, but it's actually they're not trying.
Yeah.
And if they don't try, and then I've noticed myself do that from time to time, where it's I don't know that it's like my ego trying to protect me from failure because I
can't
assume
fail.
I'm going to lose.
Right.
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu match. But I think that it is a sense of like, I'm not committed entirely. And I do think that people who like win in a competitive environment, often it requires like a total commitment in that
Right.
moment.
Yeah.
And it's safer not to.
Yeah.
Like it feels like you're putting yourself out on a limb.
Well, and that's the interesting thing is like the pain of failure in the moment isn't going to be greater than the pain of regret of not trying.
That's for sure.
Right? It's like the
Yeah.
pain of regret afterwards, I think, is something that is like, hindsight's 2020, but
Right.
that feeling of like, I wish I just
Right. Oh,
like
yeah.
I wish I just
wish I
let
kept
it
with this
go
a little bit more.
Yeah,
or
I
that's
wish
like-
I would have just like pushed through that little that barrier of fear to give myself a chance to do this, because like I said, it's like that fork in the road thing that then you'll never know
Right.
like what version of yourself that would have
yeah.
been, like or what could have come. So I feel like like you said, I think the message is like try. Like if there's something that's on your mind that you're like, man, I don't know if I can do that. I don't think I'm good enough to do that, or
Right.
I don't have enough experience to do that, or try that. It's like, try it.
Try it.
Like what do you have to lose
Right.
other than the fear
it-
that you have?
If it doesn't work out, you are no different than we were before.
Yeah.
If it works out, it could. It's like I think of what you just said. It's like you tried out for the play. Your
Yep.
teacher was like, "Try this," and it just like it cascaded into
Yeah.
like decisions and choices and things that got to open up because you were willing to be like, "All right, let's do this."
Well,
Let's
and it
go for
also
it."
took belief from other people. Like that also is helpful. It's like, so if the other thing is to encourage people to try,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
not only you try, but encourage other people to try as well, because that brings on so much confidence.
Yeah.
It's like, because I wouldn't have,
Yeah.
like 100% wouldn't have even thought of it. And I remember talking to my parents about it because I thought, first of all, I can't afford it. Like I was like, I can't afford to go to music school, like unless I get a full ride or something. And my parents were like, we'll figure it out. And so because they gave me the go ahead to try out, then it was like, all right, I'm going to try, like whatever, and then the nerves beforehand and everything. But it really was a few people being like, well, why not?
Right.
And that's
not?
why
Exactly.
not is it's the power of why not,
I Well,
really.
Yeah.
And you never know when you might be saying that thing that creates that sort
Yes.
of sliding doors moment in somebody's life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's like Kevin Smith said. It costs nothing to encourage an artist.
Yes.
It's free.
Oh my gosh.
Costs you nothing.
Yes.
And it could mean a world of difference to someone. That may be the only encouragement they hear.
yeah.
Some random be like, "Hey, that thing you did is awesome.
Yeah.
Keep doing that." You know what I mean? That may be the
Totally.
only thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out Miss Mac.
Nice.
Appreciate you.
Wow. I like how
awesome.
we started with motorcycles and we got here.
Yeah, me too.
Brian, you are not ever without an amazing story.
You have the best, dude.
I think I might have tapped them all, dude.
No, no.
No, I refuse to believe that.
Dude,
I
from
think-
miming to like you have
that
some
was
amazing
uncomfortable,
depth.
let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet. I thought
That
that's
was
what you were gonna
deeply
say. I
uncomfortable.
thought you were gonna say, well, definitely the miming.
I can't tell the mime story twice, though.
Nah, I
That's
know,
like-
but-
You can
yeah.
reference it though. We'll
Yeah,
all understand.
people in the podcast know the
Yeah.
mime story for
Wow.
sure.
That was awesome. And I like stuff like this. It's always a good reminder because
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's hard to get into it's hard to do it yourself where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to try something new. I'm going to
Yeah.
really be uncomfortable. And that encouragement, and that discussion, having that talk it's always fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
cool.
Great dude cast, everyone.
That's
As
right.
always,
Awesome.
Brian never disappoints.
Never. That's right. We love him.
I love this. We'll be back in about a month.
Yeah,
Maybe
or
after the
so.
Berkshire Yoga Fest.
That's
We got
right.
another dude cast right after Father's Day and such.
I'm all about it.
Awesome. All right. Wi-Fi Pod. This is Matt.
This is Brian.
And this is Josh.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Oh,